Hi, I'm John DeArmo with the Coquille Valley Sword Group, and today we're going to talk about Article 25. So, let's begin. Article 25, Becoming Your Opponent. You should look inside your opponent and feel the weakness of his spirit. He can retreat inside a house, fight against a large number of opponents, or confront an expert of the martial arts. As long as you do not see through the weakness, you may often confuse his weaknesses with strengths. You may see an opponent who is inexperienced in the martial arts as an expert, an insignificant opponent as a dangerous enemy, and attribute your opponent with non-existent strengths. You should thoroughly study your opponent from the inside. So, this is an interesting chapter in that it really gives us some insight into the way Musashi thinks about strategy, about fighting, and how concerned he is with sort of the psychology of the opponent that he's facing. There is a sense that strategy is, by and large, a group of rules for situations. In other words, you can think of it as chess. When your opponent has their bishops and their rooks arrayed in this sort of way, you need to be able to respond to it with these kind of effective formations, right? But Musashi here is taking it to the more sophisticated level, to where you're not playing against their position. You're playing against the general, against the person who's moving the pieces, playing against their mind, their sort of predilections, right? We have a story, The Robber in the House, and I'm not sure, I can't recall off the top of my head if it's in the Gorin no Sho or if it's just an internal story, but it's fairly simple, right? If we see that a robber, a bandit, has come and taken a hostage and hidden inside of a house to us on the outside, it seems like this person is in a strong position, right? They're fortified, we can't see in. Anything we do feels like it will immediately result in failure. There is a strong sense that they have the dominant position. However, when we put ourselves mentally in the place of the robber, we start to understand the situation is quite reversed, in fact. Because there you are, alone in the house. Sure, you have a hostage, but you can't escape. The whole world outside is arrayed against you, and you know that there is no way that you are getting out of this in a way that you want, right? And we often do this sort of thing, where we see something and we misattribute it as something that is a sign that the other person is strong. For instance, let's say that you are training merrily in wherever you train, and some person from some rival school, Cobra Kai, marches in with their pack of students and says, I don't like the smell of your breath, I challenge you to a fight. Mano y mano, master man. Right? From your perspective, it may seem like, oh gosh, this guy is confident enough to come pick a fight. He's brought all of his freaking minions. He's got his fancy belt with his fancy patches or whatever, right? This dude must be a serious dude. He's freaking confident. He brought all of his students here so that they could watch him beat me, right? The reality is quite the opposite. Because for you, there's no difference, right? If his minions students come fight, it's a different story. But you can still practice your work, right? One man to beat 10. But for the challenger, from his perspective, here he is, an adult who has just challenged another adult to a fight, right? Not for money, not for anything other than to prove who's got the bigger, right? But here's the problem for him. Or her. They've brought their whole student body, right? What happens in their mind, do they think, if this person beats them, right? They lose face in front of all of their students, right? Somebody who's obviously cares about how they look, otherwise they wouldn't have brought an audience. They're going to have that fear that, oh, if I get unlucky, if the other person gets lucky, if they have skill, if maybe I'm not really as good as I think I am, because if I was, I'd be confident. I wouldn't need to go around, 2019 challenging people to fights, right? It's an insecure person, right? And their insecurity is just built by the situation that they have created themselves. So what looks like a strong position is in fact a weak one, miserably weak. Okay? When you understand that, then you needle that fear. You capitalize on it. And you make them realize the folly of their actions. Hopefully without actually having to fight another frickin' person that's so retarded. But, people do their thing. The important point here is we have a tendency to sort of romanticize, almost pseudo-deify people, right? And instead, Musashi says, no. You have to humanize them. Look at them. Look at their weakness. Feel their weakness as though it was your own, and the means, the tools that you can use to overcome just their nature. This is before we even get into work. Just who they are as another human being becomes self-evident, right? And you have a much better chance of whooping them because you can take them immediately out of their high-functioning comfort zone and put them into a panicked place where they rely on base instinct, and that's as easy as herding sheep, right? Is move them right along where you want them to go and do your business, right? So I think that is enough on becoming your opponent. This is a little hard to train inside the dojo because though some of your fellow students may be a little bit more ego-sensitive than others, they're fundamentally all there to train. Where you can practice it in is just conversations with other people, right? Anytime you're talking to people, whether they're your friends or not, you can put yourself into their position in the conversation, right? And try and feel the conversation out from their side. This is especially efficient when you're talking about things that are uncomfortable or taboo, right? Because you can kind of get a sense for it better when people are under a little stress. I'm not suggesting that you put people under stress, right? But when the opportunities come up, you shouldn't waste them, right? So, as always, if you want to understand this work, you have to pick up a sword and go train.